Hey guys, so in the last video we talked about college and whether going to college or not is important to become a software developer. And a few videos ago I've got a couple requests to talk about what my journey was, how did I become a software developer, and considering that this month is the 6th anniversary of me getting my first iOS development internship, I thought this was a good time to share this story with you guys. But hey, if you're new around here, my name is Rodolfo. In this channel, we talk about iOS development, tech in general, productivity, and everything in between. So if that's something that you're into, please leave a like, helps the channel, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can get the next videos when I post them. So I've always been interested in computer stuff, and all throughout high school, I thought I wanted to do computer science. But I had the wrong idea of what computer science actually was. Maybe because, like in movies how hacking is done? People type two things and something amazing happens.
Give me 2 seconds, I just need to hack into the secure network on the base. Dunzo.
And I guess I probably had this idea of what programming was going to be like. And back then I didn't have this mindset that you can learn things by yourself, get books, get stuff and learn by yourself. And the internet wasn't that great of a resource as it is right now back then. So I had this mindset that I could only learn programming after I went to college. So I graduated from high school as an exchange student in the US. And then when I came back to Brazil, I started college as a computer science major, and I hated it. It was pretty much just math and physics. We didn't really have a lot of practical programming stuff to do. We even had like algorithm classes where we would do everything in pen and paper, and we had one programming class per week for the first year, and the stuff that we did end up learning wasn't very practical. We were creating asterisk pyramids and stupid stuff like that. It wasn't building apps or anything cool. So after the first year, I was completely fed up with it. I hated it. I didn't want to do it anymore. And I had a slight interest in law. So I decided to drop out of computer science and go to law school. But around 2 years before I was supposed to graduate, I landed my first internship. And after about 6 months, I realized that I liked the theory more than the practice. I didn't like the day-to-day job of it, and further internships in other areas of law and in other places just solidified that feeling that I liked a lot of the theory, but I didn't like the day-to-day job of being a lawyer. And by that time, there was little time left until I graduated, so it didn't make sense to drop out. I just stuck with it and graduated. But by then I was extremely lost with regards to what I wanted to do with my life for a career. So I joined an exchange program where you can spend up to 6 months in the US with a temporary working visa, and that's what I did. I went to the US and actually ended up working at a McDonald's, doing everything from flipping burgers to shoveling snow and cleaning bathrooms. But the good part was I was with my former host family from the exchange student years, and I got to see my friends again, and it gave me time to think about what I wanted to do in my life. And that was end of 2007, beginning of 2008, and the iPhone had just come out. And the first time I got to play with it at an Apple store, because I couldn't afford to actually get one, I was completely shook and fascinated by the technology, and it gave me that feeling that we were living in the future. And it kind of sparked my love for technology stuff back. But I came back to Brazil and I still kind of wanted to salvage my degree somehow, do something that I could use my degree to do that. So I started to try out for government jobs. I even tried out for a diplomatic position. And how that works in Brazil is you take a bunch of tests, and if you pass, you get the job. If you don't, you don't. But I started to realize that I was more interested in the aspect of having an income and salvaging my degree than I was about the jobs itself. I wasn't thrilled about what I would actually get to do was. And at the same time, a friend of mine had just opened a social media marketing agency agency and invited me to go work with him to do community management and creating reports for like analytics and metrics to show clients. I even ended up taking the responsibilities of some of the finance administration part of the business. So I did that for a few years and I kind of liked it, but I didn't see that as a career path. I just saw it as this is my current job. Meanwhile, the App Store had already come out and we started seeing this boom of entire businesses coming out of nowhere, like Uber, even games like Angry Birds started with two guys in a garage, became a huge business, and a bunch of other things like that that were completely built on top of the App Store infrastructure. And I always had that in the back of my mind, like, what kind of programming does it take to create apps like this? While I was working that job, that interest started to really take shape. So I kept working in that job until the business got bought out by a different company and I was let go during the merger. So that was when I really decided to take the plunge and start learning programming again and try to become an iOS developer. That was my goal from the beginning. So at 31 years old, without a job, I really decided to just go for it. But I quickly realized that I couldn't just learn Objective-C from scratch. Swift wasn't a thing back then. So I ended up taking some iTunes U courses on introductory programming with Java and learning object orientation, stuff like that, until I worked my way up to start learning Objective-C. And a few months into that process, I decided to go back to college to do something related to technology and programming, just so that could open the doors for internships and other opportunities like that that wouldn't be available to me otherwise. So I started college and got an internship doing web development at the equivalent to a DA's office department here, and I actually had quite some free time there. We would get an X amount of tasks per day, and then once you've done your tasks, there wouldn't be anything else to do until the next day where they gave you the next tasks. So once I finished my tasks, I would take my books and stuff like that, and I would study iOS development, trying to make most of that time. So after spending around a year there, I left and I got another internship at a local company, and this time to do iOS development. And just a side note, as you guys can probably figure, internships don't pay very well, and even though like I was extremely glad that I was being paid to learn things, at the same time I was 32 years old, seeing most of my friends living by themselves or being married and traveling, cars, nice lifestyle, and meanwhile I was still living with my grandma. And even though I didn't have to pay for rent or anything like that with her, the money I got was barely enough for gas and stuff like that to go to college, to go to my job. So I just think that sometimes it's important to put good looks aside and being financially comfortable and sacrifice in order to try to achieve a bigger goal that you have. After around a year as an intern, I got bumped to a full-time position. The pay got a lot better. It was still not enough for me to live by myself, but I was glad to see that I was progressing and things were moving forward. Meanwhile came WWDC 2017. I decided to try out for the scholarship for the first time and ended up winning. And the funny thing is that my boss at the time, who's actually a good friend to this day, ended up going with me, not as a student of course, as an attendee, and we had like such a good time there. And that trip and being at WWDC really opened up my mind to the career possibilities that existed, just opened my mind to the rest of the technology world that we don't come into contact as often here. So a few months after WWDC, I decided to quit my job and pursue other goals. So I left and I spent a year trying to make it as a freelancer, trying to work for myself, and meanwhile doing selection processes, trying out for jobs that could give me exposure to international projects. But looking back, I wasn't well prepared for it. My emergency fund wasn't that big, and I was trying to be a freelancer, but I didn't have like clients lined up already. I didn't have any income already coming from a side hustle to then quit my job. So with barely any income coming in and with my emergency fund running out, about a year later, I failed and I had to go look for a local job to help me pay my bills. But a lot of good stuff came out from that period. I tried out for the job that I have now and I passed the process, but they ended up going with a candidate that was more experienced back then. I learned a lot by working on my own projects. I got my first personal solo app into the App Store. I started this channel and I learned from failing, from quitting my job, being unprepared, and like how to plan things and do things in a more structured way. So I started this new local job and that was great as well. I learned a lot there, including Android development, which is mostly what I did there. So I got to see what that looks like as well. Didn't like it quite as much, but it was good to learn. And it was during that time that I got to go on my second WWDC in 2019, and it kind of reminded me of what my goals were, what I was working towards, and that I kind of lost my way a little bit, that I needed to get back on track. Then the company that I work for now reached out. They had another opening. I had already been through their selection process and everything, and they wanted to know if I was still interested. I was. It had a lot of the things that I was looking for, like remote work and being exposed to working with international projects and things like that. So that's where I've been since the end of 2019, even before the pandemic. Now, the reason why I wanted to share this entire story with you guys, especially the teenagers and young adults who found this channel because of the WWDC scholarship and Swift Challenge videos, was to show you that it is okay to feel lost and not know what you want to do for a while, and it's still being possible to navigate that mess and find out a way that's gonna work for you. We hear a lot these days about finding your passion and doing what you love, but what if you don't know what your passion is? Or what if you have 4 passions? Or what if you have 4 big things that you're really interested in, but you wouldn't really call any of them your passion? So I just wanted to share my story with you guys and help you realize that there is more than one way for you to get there. And I am definitely not there yet. I'm by no means at the finish line. I still have quite a lot of goals and things that I want to accomplish, but I am on my way to eventually getting there, and I just wanted to show you that the path has not been a straight line at all. So if you are feeling lost, just know that that's okay. Try as many things as you can, follow your curiosities, be ready to fail, and just trust that it's all gonna work out in the end, because it will. So I want to hear from you guys. What has your path been like? Or are you still trying to find that path? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. It really does help the channel a lot. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.